from the North Lee Mi Rand story. Chapter 1 The Woman Who Handled Gold. There was a woman in Hazen City who was known as the most capable and successful. Her name was Lee Mi Ran, an artist and an excellent merchant. However, what she truly wanted was not art. I actually didn't want art. I was just selected and had to do it. I originally wanted to study and work in retail. I wanted to go to economics school. But I accidentally ended up on the path of art. In North Korea, where everything was scarce, people working in stores selling goods, and those working in restaurants were the most popular professions. At least they wouldn't starve. The field where Mi Ran truly excelled was gold. She showed exceptional talent in gold crafting and trading, becoming one of the most renowned gold experts in Hazen City. The concentration of North Korean gold and South Korean gold is different. North Korea lacks refining technology, so even when we extract 99.99% and send it to China, China doesn't recognize it. When I came to South Korea, I found that even Chinese gold isn't recognized in South Korea. However, dealing with gold in North Korea was a life-risking endeavor. It was dangerous enough to warrant extreme punishment, even execution by firing squad. Nevertheless, Mi Ran carried on the gold business. With her exceptional skills, gold prices followed international market rates. So the difference between North Korea and South Korea wasn't significant. However, obtaining gold itself was like plucking stars from the sky. To buy one 18K necklace, you had to go to a foreign currency store and could barely purchase items that citizens had secretly brought in. When you bought one, you were as happy as if it had fallen from heaven. In those days in North Korea, putting gold teeth in place of missing teeth was a symbol of wealth. Going to a noodle shop and flashing gold teeth and gold rings, while saying, "2 bowls of noodles, please," was the ultimate pride. With the money she earned this way, Mi Ran bought the most expensive house in Hazen City. It was 78 pyong by North Korean standards, costing 250,000 won in North Korean currency at the time, equivalent to about 50 million won in South Korean money. It was the most luxurious apartment in that neighborhood, though of course there was no elevator. Chapter 2 The Lost House and Her Son's Early Departure. Hardship came to Mi Ran, who had been living affluently. Her house was confiscated because she had done big business. Losing her house for something that wasn't even a crime was utterly unjust. I struggled for 8 years to get my house back no matter what. But I ultimately couldn't get it back. That's when I realized, this isn't a country where justice prevails. Just because I'm right doesn't mean it works. I'm just a being whose life doesn't matter at all. In despair, Mi Ran first sent her son to South Korea. She thought there was no hope for herself, but she wanted her son at least to see a brighter world. When I sent my son, I thought he might die, but I thought it would be good if at least my son went to a brighter world. I thought it was okay for me to become a sacrifice. When her son arrived in South Korea and made his first phone call, "Mom, don't worry, I earn 13,000 won in North Korean currency per month." Mi Ran was shocked. 13,000 yuan was an enormous amount of money in North Korea. About 3,000 won was enough to live well in North Korea. But her son was earning more than 4 times that amount. I was so surprised I almost fainted. 10,000 won is an enormous amount of money in North Korea. I couldn't believe how he could earn such money. Around that time, many South Korean products were coming into Hazen City. They had been coming in on a large scale since 2006. Jade stone mats, mixers, carpets, century-old sets, everything came in. However, what ordinary people liked most were still food items. Things like sticky rice cake pies and choco pies. Red pepper paste also came in, but it was too sweet for North Korean tastes, and could only be used when eating with lettuce wraps. Artist from the North Lee Mi Rand story, Part 2. Chapter 3 Consciousness changed by South Korean products. As South Korean products came in, North Korean people's consciousness level completely changed. Particularly, their perception of clothes and shoes changed dramatically. At first, we encountered many Japanese products. I was amazed at how well the sewing was done. But when South Korean clothes and shoes started coming in, They were so well made and perfectly suited to our style. With Chinese products, if the waist fit, the hips didn't fit. And if the hips fit, the waist didn't fit. Since the body types were different, there was no way they could fit. But South Korean products were different. When I first tried on South Korean pants, I was really surprised. If I just matched the size, they fit my body perfectly. Until then, I thought there was something wrong with my body. I thought I had an unbalanced body that couldn't wear ready-made clothes. But it turned out I had a Korean-style body. This experience wasn't just about one piece of clothing. It was an opportunity that completely changed her perception of herself. Meanwhile, as her son settled stably in South Korea, an opportunity came for Emma Iran as well. A path to defect opened through missionaries from the Church of God. I came to South Korea via China, Laos, and Thailand. I received education in Thailand for 3 months, and at first I thought, what kind of nonsense is this about not dying to live? They were telling me cartoon-like, drama-like stories. But as I studied, I realized that the Bible was truth. The day finally came to board the plane to South Korea. Her heart was racing and she felt like she was going crazy. But at the same time she was afraid that all of this might be a dream. 80% of me hoped it wouldn't be a dream. Even at that moment, I kept thinking whether it might be a dream. Chapter 4 Arriving in the World of Light. When the plane landed at Incheon Airport, Emma Iran couldn't properly see what the airport looked like. She was immediately put on a bus and headed to the National Intelligence Service. I really didn't get to experience the airport. Even when I take planes now, it's just the same. It's definitely not like what presidents ride in those fancy dramas. On the way to the National Intelligence Service, she witnessed the reality of South Korea for the first time. The moment she opened the window, she almost fell over because it was so bright. If I had arrived at night, I probably would have really fallen over. Fortunately, it was daytime, so I was okay. We were crossing Hangang Bridge and the water level was low. If the water had been full, I think I would have screamed and stood up. When Emma Iran arrived at the National Intelligence Service, she had no fear of torture or anything like that. I was so grateful that they accepted me. I'm someone who abandoned my own country, right? Just the fact that the Republic of Korea accepted someone who had nowhere to go was enough to be thankful for. I didn't think about torture at all. What impressed her most at the National Intelligence Service was the bag, containing 52 essential items. After showering, they give you a 3-tier bag. And when I counted the items, there were 52 different things. From head to toe, 1 pair of socks, 1 pair of underwear, they filled everything. I came with nothing, but they filled everything one by one. So I was very grateful. She was particularly flustered when they measured her underwear size. In North Korea, you just picked something similar and wore it, but in South Korea, they fitted everything to the exact size. They also went on field trips from the National Intelligence Service. They saw Namsan Tower and went to the War Memorial. I was really shocked at the War Memorial. In North Korea, we learned that the war started because South Korea invaded first. But here it said that North Korea started the war. I also saw how it became ruins after the war. And I thought the South Korean people, who became an advanced country in 40 years, were really amazing. She was even selected in an essay contest for writing about that impression. In North Korea, when they told you to write, you had to force yourself to make something up. But here, when I wrote exactly what I felt, such good writing came out. It seemed like the Republic of Korea was making me into a writer. Chapter 5 Reunion with her son at Hanawon. When the National Intelligence Service investigation ended, her son came with his daughter-in-law and grandson. Emma Iran was shocked to see her son after several years. When I sent my son away, he was just an immature child. But when I saw him after several years, he had completely changed. The traces of working hard to bring his mother over were evident. It was heartbreaking but also grateful. The joy of seeing her plump grandson for the first time was unforgettable. At Hanawon, she received various types of education. But she was stressed a lot because of foreign words. They kept trying to teach foreign words but none of it would stick. If it's soybean paste, I would understand if they explained what soybean paste is. But they were telling me to learn completely different foreign words. So it was frustrating. I thought I would learn while living outside. But looking back now, she thinks she should have properly learned foreign words then. In reality, many embarrassing incidents happened because of foreign words while living. At Hanawan, she also had a homestay experience. She spent one night in an ordinary household, experiencing markets and buses. The homestay family had a piano, and the kitchen was set up so you could do everything standing up. In North Korea, you had to sit by the stove to do things. It felt like entering a new world. At the market, she received another shock. Even though there were no owners around, goods were just displayed. It was completely open. If you wanted to buy something, you had to find the owner to buy it, which was so fascinating. Chapter 6: Automatic Sensors and Magical Daily Life. Finally, she left Hanawan and received housing allocation. Initially, she stayed at her son's house for 2 months before moving to her own place. What fascinated her most when entering her new home was the automatic sensor. When I took off my shoes and went in, the lights turned on automatically. I went in and out several times. I was curious about where this light was coming from. I thought there might be a switch on the bottom of my feet, so I pressed the bottom several times. But I couldn't figure it out. It was also amazing that everything could be solved in a small space. Even her son's house, which was about 17 pyong, had nothing inconvenient. In North Korea, no matter how big and nice a house you lived in, there were so many inconveniences. When going to the bathroom, you had to grope your way in, afraid of slipping. And you had to scoop water from the water tank to use. Above all, she was amazed by the cleanliness of the bathroom. I forgot the smell of toilets. It was so clean that I couldn't smell that odor anywhere. In North Korea, the areas around public toilets always had a strong smell. Her first experience going to a department store with her son was also unforgettable. It was Hyundai department store, and my son bought me clothes and glasses. While touring the department store, I felt like I had to see every single store. There were so many good things that I was happy and moved beyond words. The night scenery was also surprising. The moment I opened the window and looked out at that night view. If I had entered South Korea at night, I think I would have fainted. It was so bright that it was hard to distinguish between day and night. The perfection of the public transportation system was also admirable. When I entered the subway, everything was guided just by looking up. Go right for this place, go left for that place. Everything was marked so that anyone who could read Korean could find their way. It wasn't because I was smart at finding directions, but because the signs were so well done. Chapter 7: First Salary and Amusing Misunderstandings with Foreign Words. Emma Iran's first work life began. Initially, the physical labor was so hard that she even felt regret. In North Korea, I had never done such physical work. It was so hard that I thought, did I come to South Korea to work like this? However, the emotion she felt when she received her first salary of 2.2 million won was unforgettable. When the salary came in, I thought, this is why you work. In North Korea, they don't give you money even if you work. I was so happy that I could earn money by working. It didn't matter whether the money was large or small. What was even more moving was the sense of dignity. In North Korea, when you earned money, there was always anxiety that someone might take it away from behind. But here, it's rightfully my money that I earned. That feeling was so good. Meanwhile, there were many embarrassing incidents caused by foreign words. The most memorable was the self-service incident. I entered a restaurant and it said, water is self-service. I thought, water is self. I kept memorizing it in my head so I wouldn't forget. After finishing my meal, I waited for water but it didn't come. So I said to the staff, excuse me, please give me some self here. Fortunately, the restaurant staff didn't hear her, so she avoided greater embarrassment. But Iran laughed for a long time when her son later found out. Iced Americano was also difficult to pronounce at first. She became a laughingstock by saying, iced Americano, hot please. Now she naturally says, Americano. But it was really difficult at first. Though these mistakes were embarrassing, they were also part of the process of adapting to a new world. Chapter 8: From Dream to Reality, Grateful Heart. It has now been 4 years since coming to South Korea. Iran is now living as a dignified businesswoman, even running a beer house. Here, anyone can do anything if they have money. Whether it's a shop or a store, I can do whatever I want, which was so fascinating. In North Korea, you need national approval and the procedures are incredibly complicated. But here you can just do it right away. For Iran, South Korea is a land of opportunity. All the hopes and dreams I can have are equipped with wings. As long as I can fly, I can spread them as much as I want. If I work hard and am prepared, I can do anything. Sometimes she thinks, wouldn't you be an idiot if you can't live here? Since I lived in that harsh land, I would really be an idiot if I hesitated after coming here. But actually living here isn't easy. Because it's such an open world. There are probably 10 million people who think like me. Still, what's certain is that you can take as much as you work. One of the most impressive experiences was the artificial waves at Everland. I was really amazed to see artificially created waves. To think that people could gather their wisdom to create something where you can experience waves without going to the sea. Just being able to enjoy such leisure was happiness. When can North Korean people live like this? If you say, let's go to an amusement park, the answer is, I can't go because I'm hungry. Now, comparison itself has become meaningless to Iran. I think comparing North Korea and South Korea is meaningless in itself. You have to be at a certain level to make comparisons. It's not a situation for comparison. She can't forget that special emotion she felt when cars were backed up on the highway. When cars were slowly going in a single line. I suddenly had this thought, I'm also standing in line with South Korean people. I'm also a citizen of the Republic of Korea. Even being stuck in traffic made me happy. However, now everything is becoming familiar.